Hey, book besties, and welcome back to Bookish Bliss for episode 90. We have a lot to discuss today.
We are continuing our journey through Sarah J. Maas's tandem read of Empire Storms and Tower of Dawn. And this week, it's all about chapters 14 to 18 in Empire Storms and 8 through 16 in Tower of Dawn. So you don't have to read the entire books, but you do need to be caught up on the chapters we're covering because we are going full spoiler mode. Amanda, darling, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking my Grape Ultima and my new Awala. This one fits in my cup holder, hence why I purchased it. My other one does not.
Yes. The bigger ones are nice, but you're right. They don't fit into the cup holder.
Yeah, that one's going to be my workout one. This one's going to be my everyday.
Yeah.
Awala. It's my favorite color, orange.
It looks a little yellow on screen.
I know, it does. I think it's my light.
Yeah. Oh, I see it.
There we go.
Yeah.
What are you drinking tonight, darling?
Well, Amanda, darling, I am so hyped because I got one of the Diet Coke merchandise Awalas.
Wow.
And
so cute.
I fought for this Awala.
I
went to the store. I was like, where's the Diet Coke merchandise? And they're like, we didn't put it out yet. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't put it out yet? It's supposed to come out at midnight. It was 11 a.m. the next day. So I used to work at this Target. And so I asked them what I knew. And they're like, well, what did you really want? I mean, I wanted everything, but my top on my list was this. So I was like, I want this one. And so they went and got it for me.
Yay.
Yes. You don't know if you won't ask.
That's right.
So cheers to episode 90, crazy, of Bookish Bliss, and part 3 of our tandem read. Cheers.
Yay, cheers. Yum, yum, yum in my tum.
Amanda, tell everyone why we are so hyped, humbled, and what's another H?
Happy.
Yes. Tell everyone why we're hyped, humbled, and happy.
Okay, Megan just FaceTimed me and was like, we have our, what is it called? The Spotify wrap-up?
Yeah.
Spotify wrap. And she's like, we have to watch it together. Well, guys. What do we got? 3 awards.
Yes, we got the 2025 Rising Star, 2025 Marathon Listener, and 2025
Talked About Show.
Yeah.
Talked About Show. Let's go.
We're like,
Bookish
what?
Bliss.
Bookish Bliss hit 48 countries in 2025 when I believe in 2024 we'd have to look at our 1-year episode. Yeah. I believe it was like 18 or 19, which is so crazy to hit 48 countries now.
Yeah.
And
that's crazy.
Just thank you so much. Our
top 5 is what? Australia, UK, the Netherlands, Mexico, and the US. That's crazy.
Yes.
We love you all the way in Australia.
Yes. Our
and the Netherlands.
Our growth went up like insane this year for our listens. And we just want to thank you so much. We love you. Yeah.
Also, it's told us that like people listen to us longer than other shows that they listen to. So they're like still keeping up with us, which is so cool.
Yeah.
Almost 2 years later.
We love that. Like, it's so crazy. Like, sometimes like doing a show is like really hard. I'm sure you agree. It's a lot.
Yeah, there's definitely been times where I'm like, why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah. But then you see something like that and you're like, wow.
This is what it's all about.
Yeah. Like, I feel like it says like we are like 111 people's like top 10 show, like 70 something in their top 5 and like 21 is their top number 1 show. And we're just like this tiny little bestie group over here doing this for funsies. And like, you just care what we have to say and we just love you.
Please tell us if we're in your top 10.
Yeah.
Or top 5 on your Spotify, tell us. Send us the picture, please. We love to see it.
Yes.
That's so cool.
I sucked in the month of November, though. I read 1 book.
Wow.
I
think I read 5.
Cannot read. I forgot how.
You forgot how?
I'm just kidding. I read for the podcast, and that's it, basically.
You're a mood reader lately.
Yes.
Like, you're just not in the mood.
No. And I used to just, all I cared about was reading.
Knowing all the info. That's how I am now. I'm like, I need to read this. I need to read this.
I think it's because the books that I'm reading, I'm like not super sucked into. And I know you're going to be
Yeah.
bummed about this because we're reading On Wings of Blood. And maybe it's because I'm listening to it and I'm not reading it that I'm just
Yeah.
like not fully into it. Don't get me wrong, I really like it. But
I'm
it
obsessed.
has
I
not
already finished book 2.
sucked me in. But I
Really?
think it's because it's not the book. It's definitely
Yeah.
me because nothing is enticing to me. Nothing.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
even if
you're in
you
a
put a
mood.
Sarah J. Maas book in front of me, I wouldn't be like, "Oh,
Or maybe
I'll get to it."
that's what it takes to get you out of this funk.
A new Sarah J. Maas book?
Yeah.
Maybe, or get on it.
Sarah?
Yeah,
So
I
funny.
can't finish anything, and I think I'm just getting frustrated because I can't finish anything.
Yeah.
So then it puts me even more in a mood. I've also been obsessed with like this bidding app called Whatnot,
Oh,
and I
shit.
just like watch people's shows and like buy clothes for cheaper. It's
Wow.
sick. It's a
That's
sick
awesome.
obsession.
I love that.
Yeah. But that's my news.
Yeah. I think the only book I've read since last week was the second book of Bloodwing Academy, The Bond That Burns.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I did just get to a really cool part. I don't know if I'm allowed to
Ooh.
say. I'll be vague. Basically, she's like having sex dreams about Blake.
Mm.
And then
Mhm.
she wakes up because there's like an earthquake or something. Like, and he said
Yes.
the dragons are coming. And then she wakes up and
It's so
so
good,
I'm
Megan.
guessing that the dragons are actually coming because I guess there was another earthquake before and she's a rider. So I feel like they're here because
Mm.
she's here. That's what I think.
Mm. Wait till you see. Hopefully that makes you wanna go read it because it's good.
Yeah, well, I was listening to it running around today, but then I kept
Yeah.
getting phone calls. So then I'm like, ugh, when am I going to listen? I don't know.
I know.
I
I'm
still,
listening to a book too, The Prisoner. I think it's by B.A. Paris. It's actually pretty
ooh,
good.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
I have 6 hours and 36 minutes, so I'm almost there.
You got like a week before book club, so you got time. All right, let's get started with the good stuff and break down the tandem read part 3. I can't believe we're already on part 3.
I know.
It's crazy.
It is
How fast
crazy.
it's going. We start with you tonight, darling.
And we end with me, darling.
Yes, and I'm going to sprinkle my 2 cents in between.
Yes. We have 8 chapters of Megan tonight and 6 of Amanda, but don't worry.
Indeed.
If you like more of Amanda than you do of Megan, next week she has more chapters.
Yep, unfortunately.
All right, Tower of Dawn, Chapter 8. Irene arrived on time the next morning. She hadn't sent word ahead, but she knew they would be waiting for her. She briefly considered delaying. Princess Hazar and Reina had dragged her out drinking the night before, and she hadn't gotten home until 2 in the morning. She spent the whole night avoiding Cashin, too. She couldn't wait for the Coggin to send his children back to their outposts. They were all lingering out of grief over their sister's death. Irene wanted to go to Cashin to comfort him because she cared, but she didn't want to give him the wrong idea. Her mentor thought she was a fool for not pursuing him. When she entered the suite, Kale and Nezarin were in the same positions as the day before, but something between them felt off, tense. Irene told them she had spoken to her superior and she wanted to try to get Kale walking again. She would do her best, though she could promise nothing. Then she suggested Nezarin attend to any matters that needed handling, as the healing session would take hours. Irene assured her she could manage Kale's positioning on her own, and he was more than capable of handling himself. Nezarin mentioned she had received several invitations yesterday and would see to them. Irene thought it was wise. Spies lurked everywhere in the palace, and Nezarin's discretion impressed her. When they were alone, Kale said he hadn't owned slaves in Adarlan. The slave trade and its camps had been shut down, and he had served Dorian all these years, not his father. He admitted he had regrets, choices made in ignorance or fear, but he wanted to ensure nothing like that ever happened again. Irene instructed him to remove his shirt and lie down. She would work on him in the living room, not the bedroom. Nezarin wasn't there, and Irene had no interest in making her situation with Cashin more complicated. Kale quietly told her that he and Nezarin were not together. Irene examined him with a healer's eye. He had at least kept up his exercises that would help. His legs were losing muscle, though. They would need to rebuild strength. She asked what kind of magic had struck him, but he only said it wasn't fire. When she let her magic probe the injury, cold and darkness slammed into her, knocking the breath from her lungs like a physical blow. Kale's face went pale. He asked if the darkness was inside of him. Irene told him it was only an echo. But he couldn't tell her more, not with the spies everywhere. She moved closer under the guise of giving him a massage, bringing their heads near enough that he could whisper about the Valg. Irene didn't flinch as he described the Valg horrors. She needed to hear it. She was planning to return to help in the war, and she had returned to help Kale because she didn't want Kale or Nezrin to accuse her later of not helping him and use it against her. Kale told her that they weren't those kinds of people. He insisted he wasn't a bad man, even if he had served one. He had followed the status quo to protect Dorian, who had always mattered. What mattered now was wiping the Valg and Parrington from their homeland. Irene then asked him what happened when he was injured. Facing the emotional truth of it would be a part of healing. Kale said he didn't need to. He knew exactly what happened before, during, and after. Irene simply replied that they would see about that, and then she left.
Whoa. TOD, I can't lie. It's been a struggle.
It really has, because nothing has really started to happen in this section
Yeah.
of chapters, starting in the library a little bit later, which we'll talk about. But you're
Yeah.
right, up to chapter 8, which I guess we're only on chapter 8. In Empire of Storms, we are further ahead, and we kind of already picked up where those characters left off in Empire of Storms, where in Tower of Dawn, we're starting almost completely
Brand new.
Yeah, brand new.
I think too, Heir of Fire, from the end of Heir of Fire all the way through Queen of Shadows, it was legit nonstop action. And that's how I feel like it is in Empire of Storms.
Right.
So then to go back to a very beginning of like this new part of the world and like basically start the story from scratch.
But can you imagine reading Empire of Storms and not doing the Tandem read, and then
No.
reading Tower of Dawn?
No. Absolutely not.
You would be
I
like,
can bear it chapter by chapter. I cannot bear the whole book.
Because I can guarantee the second you finish Empire Storms, you're going to be like, I'm starting Kingdom of Ash right now. I can guarantee you're going to be like, we're recording at midnight. I'm reading the chapters right now.
Well, I hope you're ready with your notes, bitch, because I'm going to want to do that probably.
Oh. But yeah, so basically not too much to really dive deep into this. We're just prepping Irene for what the Valg are and kind of sort of explaining to her what was going on in Adarlan without giving too much away.
Yeah.
He basically leaves out word keys and what happened to Dorian, but everything else he explained while the massage was being given.
Yeah. He's like, ooh, this massage is good.
Like, ooh, that feels nice, Irene.
He's like, okay, maybe I'll talk a little.
Me and Nezrin are on the rocks, and now this hottie is rubbing my back.
Right? Little love triangle in our future, maybe?
I feel like reading this chapter is more than just a love triangle in the books. Like Prince Sartok.
Yeah.
Anyone? Jeez. He seems like a hottie, too. All these hot people, how do you decide who you want to be with?
I know. It's like a square.
Yeah, it's a love square.
A love square, yeah. Tower of Dawn, Chapter 9. Irene found herself in Soba's womb, the sacred hot springs beneath the Tor Sesame, where healers came to rest and cleanse themselves after difficult days. The place was steeped in ritual, with every visitor required to bathe before entering, and the air filled with the constant music of bells. Each healer who had ever practiced at the Tor Sesame had donated one, so their voices would forever sing to those who sought solace there. As Irene reflected on Kale's condition and the dark magic entwined with him, she felt the springs calling her, urging her to enter. Though she doubted her ability, a voice insisted that it was not that she couldn't, but that she simply wouldn't. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sound of another healer weeping. Initially inclined to give her privacy, Irene instead offered comfort, holding the woman's hand as she grieved the loss of a 3-year-old patient. The healer sometimes wished she didn't bear her gift, but Irene could not share that sentiment. To her, the gift was a source of strength and connection, a reminder that she was never alone, surrounded by the legacy and spirit of the Tower's women. Yet, even as she cherished her gift, she acknowledged the heavy responsibility it placed upon her, especially regarding Kale, whose fate she knew she must face, though she wished she did not have to. Meanwhile, Kale and Nezrin attended dinner with the Coggins children, discussing the early progress of his treatment and the potential for future alliances between their lands. Ever vigilant, Kale saw no signs of the Valg, but remained cautious. He even entertained the radical idea of requiring everyone to cut their palms to prove their blood was not black. And though it seemed absurd at first, he began to think it might be worth proposing. Determined, he attempted to request a meeting with the Kagan, despite Nezrin's subtle efforts to dissuade him, but the Kagan was occupied with mourning alongside his wife after the loss of their child. Kale apologized and shifted the conversation towards Sartok, asking him his flying habits with his ruck. Sartok confirmed he flew daily, and Kale exchanged a meaningful look with Nezrin, silently urging her to accompany Sartok and discover where his loyalties lay in this war. Kale, always about his business.
Yeah.
He needs the distraction from the wheels, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think it gives him something to focus on.
Yeah.
For not obviously they're in the palace for multiple reasons, but he only wants to focus on one, which Irene is like, you're going to need to face this emotional journey that you're also on.
Yeah.
Like, you lost the ability to walk. You
Literally.
need to face that.
Well, we find out later in this section too, like it's not even just this magic that's haunting him. Like she sees his nightmares. She sees the trauma. And I feel like he kind of resists talking, which obviously
It's Kale.
it's Kale, yeah. Like we knew that was going to happen. We knew he was going to try and shove it under the rug really far.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Irene's like, no, bitch, you got to talk. But it sounds like even Irene, she's in these awesome hot springs, which to me just sounds like Rafa yoga.
Literally, like Bodhi Spa. And I'm like, let's go right now.
The sweat spa.
I know. We need to go.
We need to go, yeah. But she's even hearing this voice, which I think is just like either these healer energy from all these women that have practiced there or her own self-conscious that's telling her that it's not that she couldn't do what she needs to do to help Kale. It's that she wouldn't. She has to push herself to get there, basically. So
yeah, it's not just his emotional journey that needs
or
trauma that needs to be healed. It's also hers.
Exactly. Yeah. And she hears this other healer who's crying. And I think it's interesting that she says here, the crying healer is like, I wish I didn't bear this gift sometimes. I think it was like a 3-year-old child that died and she couldn't save her. So it was really sad. But Irene's like, I understand that it's a heavy responsibility to have this gift, but it's a reminder to her that she's never alone. And she always thinks about like the legacy of her family. She's surrounded by this connection with them and they help her and guide her. So I thought that was like healing for her to come up with.
Yeah.
Or to even acknowledge.
Yeah. I think she's definitely more open to the healing of her emotional trauma, where Kale is not ready for that journey yet.
No. And he even sends Nezrin on a mission with Sartok. He might have just set up his girl with another guy. He's like, you go do your job. And she's like, yes, sir. Batting her eyes at Sartok.
Literally, though.
But he probably, in this moment, feels sorry for himself and feels like she deserves more anyway.
Right.
So,
yeah.
He's got to do the work and get there.
Tower of Dawn, Chapter 10. Irene was in the tourist library when the storm rolled in. A few acolytes still studying late for their examinations, their candles guttering with every rumble. She and the head librarian were not particularly close, but the woman was brilliant. She spoke 15 languages and seemed to know the contents of every shelf by heart. At Irene's request, she began searching for anything on wounds caused by demons, by dark magic, by unnatural forces, wounds that left echoes without harming the patient directly. Books lay scattered in a dozen languages: Hala, Ilwe, Irene's native tongue, and one text written in strange rune markings she didn't recognize.
Word keys?
Word marks?
Word marks?
A noise rustled through the stacks. Irene glanced up, assuming it was one of the Basset cats. 36 of the sleek female warriors guarded the library. No one knew where they came from, and they appeared only when they wished. Rumor held it that they even read from time to time. I want one.
Me too.
Irene reached for a heavy volume titled, she translated to, The Song of Beginning. Inside were chilling illustrations of the Valg, depictions of the 3 Valg kings, wielders of the word keys, and diagrams showing how Valg shadows infiltrated a human body. Unease prickled down her spine. She never felt unsafe in the tour, but something was wrong. Very wrong. Gathering the books she thought might help Kale, she headed for the exit. Footsteps echoed behind her. Someone was following, keeping pace with her, walking parallel through the rows as if waiting for the moment to intercept. Thinking fast, Irene called out to a girl who wasn't actually there. The footsteps paused, just long enough. But as Irene reached the end of the aisle, her breath caught. There, sprawled on the floor, lay the healer she'd spoken with earlier in the bathing chambers. Her body was drained, ashen, empty. Irene
Oh,
bit back a cry, grabbed the nearest group of acolytes, and ushered them quickly away from the danger. A basset cat appeared and was growling at something out of sight behind them. Once the girls were safe, Irene reported the healer's death. Guards were summoned immediately. There was an intruder in the tour. The librarian ordered every acolyte and scholar to evacuate the library. Irene remained by the doors waiting. Reinforcements would come, but until they did, she would stand her ground.
here's where the action picks up a little bit
Yeah,
for a
there
second.
for a second in Tower of Dawn,
Yeah.
we get one chapter of some action. So Irene is
Mhm.
down in the library late at night, it's like midnight or something, just researching on Kale's condition, anything about dark magic, wounds from dark magic, how to heal any echoes of dark magic in someone. And she finds this book that's in Eelway, and she knows a little bit of it because that's where her father was from, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
though she didn't know who that was, she knew a little bit of the language. And so she starts translating it to the Song of Beginning. And inside it shows all these illustrations of the vow. She's like, this is exactly what Kale was
What
talking
happened?
about. And she's
Yeah.
horrified to see how the vow can infiltrate a human body and how like their eyes change at the end when the transition is complete to being completely black.
Yeah, that's crazy that there's, like, diagrams and shit in the book, like, a step to step.
Step-to-step guide of how the vow can take
Literally,
over
step by
humans.
step.
And
Crazy.
while she's doing this, she starts to hear some noise around her, and she suddenly feels very unsafe. And she has never, ever felt unsafe in the tour. So she's like, time to go. I know enough from what I learned from Aelin that it's time to leave.
Yeah, this was definitely giving me Throne of Glass vibes, like book 1 vibes,
Hmm.
when she's in the library and these monsters come out of nowhere,
Yes.
which makes me think there's a portal opening up
Ooh.
because later in the section, they talk about how they're so guarded and no one's getting in and no one's getting out, and, like, no one even came in and out. They came in through a portal in the
Yeah.
library. Like,
Yeah,
they
because
had
it's like
to have.
how else would they have gotten in? And because they
Yeah.
were gone, you couldn't find them afterwards.
Nope.
So someone is following her through the stacks, walking parallel with her, and oh, so sad. We find the young
I
healer dead
know.
because,
She was having a really bad day
and
too,
then she ends up dead.
literally.
Well, she
The
said she
worst
didn't want to
day.
be a healer anymore. No, she's not.
True.
Be careful what you wish for.
Literally.
Oh, that's
Not
mean.
funny.
Not funny. But yeah, so Irene gets the acolytes that are near her to safety. They ring the bells to alarm everyone to get the out. We gotta
Yeah.
leave. There's
Get the fuck
danger.
out.
We don't see what happens, but we know later on that they found no one.
'Cause they fucking went through the portal. Throwing a glass all over again.
Literally. All right, we're continuing on with me.
Keep it up, girl.
Empire
Doing great.
Storms, chapter 14. So we're switching books. Adian, Aelin, and Lysandra were ready for battle. Adian had been to this town before with the Bane, but he never imagined returning with his queen at his side. There were no flowers thrown in greeting this time, only the grim preparations for a fight against the Adarlan soldiers. They had already secured their passage for tomorrow. As far as anyone would know, they were headed north on the Summer Lady towards Surya. In truth, they would slip south on the Windsinger. Rumors had also reached them of ships rallying along the western coast and Fey territory, 50 vessels with an army of Fey warriors camped on the beaches ready to sail. No one knew whether Maeve meant to aid Marath or Terrasen. They hoped the Dark King and the Dark Queen would destroy each other, but if they united against Aelin, they had to act quickly, kill one before being forced to kill the other. While they waited for Aelin's signal, Lysandra had been reading a book titled Forgotten Creatures of the Deep. She remarked that this was the calm before the storm. Aelin's storms were never mild, and the more she thought about it, the more it felt as though everything had been set into motion long ago. Erewhon had decades to strike before Aelin or Dorian were born, yet he moved now. Marath with horrors, Maeve was stirring across the sea, and two goddesses walked hand in hand with Aelin. Perhaps they had shaped her from the beginning, accepting whatever casualties would come. None of them had yet witnessed the full depth of Erewhon's darkness or Aelin's fire. But Aedion refused to believe Aelin was merely a pawn. He and Lysandra bantered as usual, though he couldn't shake the feeling that she was off limits to him. Still, he envied Rowan and Aelin and the bond they shared. Lysandra pushed for them to leave before dawn. She claimed the town didn't smell right. When Aelin finally gave the signal, it was time. At the temple, Aelin strode forward and ordered the soldiers to get the hell out of her sacred space. There were no black rings or collars on any of them. The commander tried to rally his men, but many fled, especially after Aelin burned the commander alive from the inside out. Aedion and Lysandra lunged into the fray, helping to clear the temple. Within 20 minutes, it was done, with several townsfolk joining the fight. Aelin then cleansed the temple with her fire. Leaving Aedion and Lysandra behind, she walked into the heart of the structure and stepped onto the sacred rock where Brandon had once stood and waited.
Way more action than TOD.
Literally, even just reading it, I'm like, yeah, and then this happened.
Yeah. And I'm like sitting here like, woohoo.
But we're also getting, I think, a lot more useful information in this book at this time.
Yeah.
Because we're
I
like,
agree.
oh my gosh, Maeve is preparing something up in Wensland.
Aelin called her the Dark Queen. I'm like, oh shit.
Yep. So we have that going on. We get more information where Lysandra's like, this just seems like it had to have been set up because it is too good to be true that two goddesses now walk hand in hand with Aelin. They've basically shaped her entire life. And now Erewhon's deciding to move when he's had centuries to move.
Yeah.
Decades before Aelin and Dorian were even born, he was in the king and could have done something. But now he's striking. It's just...
Yeah, that's so weird.
It's like so weird. And Aedion's like, I just can't believe that they would use Aelin as a pawn in all of this and deem her sacrifice worthy to end Erewhon. But I think that's exactly something like the gods would do.
Yeah, for sure. Because they don't give a fuck at the end of the day. They just want the bad guy to lose.
Right. What's one person when you can save millions?
Yeah, save the whole world, basically.
Right.
Or realm or whatever.
Which is obviously...
Or multiple realms, I guess.
Yeah, frightening for Aedion because that's his cousin. But
yeah,
this is a war. People are going to die.
You keep saying that. And I just keep disassociating when you do.
But for right now, the only people who are dying are the Adarlan soldiers because Aelin said, get the fuck out of my sacred temple, bitch.
Yup, first battle of the book.
And she's like, you don't want to leave? Sets the guy on fire from the inside out. Poof.
And then they all go, run.
But some stayed and fought, but they had that temple under control in 20 minutes because our group, they don't play.
Yeah, we don't play. We don't fuck around with our territory.
We cleanse the temple with fire because it's not just for killing, it's for cleansing. And now Aelin, she's got some business to attend to, which this chapter is a very exciting chapter.
Yeah.
I did gasp. I wouldn't tell Amanda what chapter I gasped on the other day when I was like, oh my God, the fucking foreshadowing. She has no idea what I'm talking about.
No.
But it was this chapter. So.
Okay. No, now I'm going to try and guess. Also, Megan piped me up the other day and told me I had a really good prediction so far. So I'm like, which one was it?
Yeah, she does. Also, yeah, I can't tell her too much sometimes or dive into what she's saying because then she'll just figure it out.
Smart.
Yeah. I was like, your ass is going to figure it out. I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, literally. I don't want to know, though. I don't want to spoil it for myself, but it's fun to guess.
Yeah.
And to make you squirm.
Yeah.
Empire of Storms, Chapter 15. Aelin sat upon the sacred stone where the temple met the sea, waiting for Brannon, who appeared with crucial news. A lock was required to bind the keys back into the broken word gate, and it could be found in the stone marshes. In their exchange, Aelin also learned more about Maeve, an ancient being who had already been old when Brannon was a child. Though Faye could die, Maeve had outlived nearly everyone, yet she always feared Brannon's and Aelin's flames. The two mused that they might have been great friends before his disappearance. Aedion, suspicious of Aelin's secrecy, overheard their conversation. Suddenly, a powerful Valg manifested, inhabiting the body of the chief overseer of Endovier, a chilling reminder that the Valg king knew her past. The sight triggered Aylin's traumatic memories of Endovier's cruelty, but she steered herself, vowing she will not be afraid. Again. It was only when she saw Adian wielding her father's sword, the sword of Orinth, that her flames ignited. She struck the Valg with her magic, light blazing from within him, but discovered he was not only collared, his heart was forged of iron and wordstone. The corruption overwhelmed her, leaving her physically ill. At the moment, Lysandra swooped down from the rafters, shifting into a leopard and tearing into the Valg's chest, exposing a void of darkness and golden eyes. It was then revealed that Erewhon himself had orchestrated the encounter and knew how to make an entrance.
You actually didn't comment on the foreshadowing.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even pick it up? And now I'll never fucking know. Well, I will be rereading this chapter and then reading my notes and figuring out what I forgot.
I know. I feel like I can't point it out because then you'll figure it out.
Yeah. Wow, I'm sad. Was it something that I missed, or was it just like something I don't understand yet?
You are,
Because I feel like we owe it to the Bookish Bliss podcast to say it if it's something I missed.
you touched on it. You just didn't fully say the question that Aylin asked.
I see. Okay. I don't know. I want to know, but I don't want you to spoil it if it's a spoiler.
It will spoil it. If I
Okay.
draw too much attention to it to you, you're gonna know.
Okay. Whatever. So, lots of crazy things in this chapter. We're fucking waiting for Brannon on the rock.
That was crazy. I forgot that
like-
was happening, honestly.
Well, is this the thing that the little people were orchestrating?
Yes.
Okay, because at first I'm like, what the fuck? Where did this plan come from? I know Aylin, she's always like 16 steps ahead of us, but like, this was crazy.
Yeah, so the little people left her the temple structure.
Yeah.
And so she knew she had to go there. I think she assumed she was going to get a message from Brannon because
Yeah.
that's where he first stepped onto these lands, was through that sacred
that
stone.
rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. He shows up and tells us some bad news. A lock was required to bind the keys back into the broken word gate.
Mm-hmm.
A fucking lock. But at least we know where it is, in the stone marshes, which
seems large and vast, and he didn't give us a specific location.
Yeah, seems like it's going to take us a minute to figure out where this lock is.
What's one more thing to add to our to-do list?
You know, it wouldn't be Sarah J. Maas if there wasn't a list of fucking 50 items long. We also get some information about Maeve.
Mm-hmm.
She was old even when Brannon was a child. And he's like 1,000 years old, isn't he?
He's dead.
Well, I know, but for 1,000 years, right?
Yeah, he's been gone quite some time.
So Maeve is like old as fuck. But how can she outlive everyone? Because Faye can die.
Mm-hmm. They fade.
Something's not right there. She must be a Valg. Wow, no reaction. No reaction tells me everything I want to know. Anyways, Adian creeps up on Aylin because he's like, what the fuck's going on? Overhears a conversation, but they don't even get a chance to really hash it out because this Valg manifests in the body of one of the guards from Endovier when she was a slave. So even freakier that the Valgs know her past. How do they know her past? This will keep me up at night.
Yeah, like how does Erewhon know so much about her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he was in cahoots with Arabin
Mm.
because he creepily knew everything about her.
Yeah, but Arabin didn't like the Valg because they were taking over his city and he thought it was his.
True. I don't know.
He just did his research on his enemy. I think like any smart
Yeah.
person trying to win a war would do is study their
I
opponent.
guess, but that's very specific information.
Well, I think they just knew she was at Endovier.
So got a
the
prison
overseer
guard. Yeah.
of Endovier.
True. All right, I guess not. Stupid Erewhon. He's smarter than I thought.
He is very smart and hot, and we're like, no, don't like him.
Megan said it, not me.
Just very confusing when we have some bad guys. We're like, oh, you're like this one. And then there's other hot bad guys. We're like not that one.
Yeah. Aelin is in a little bit of a traumatic state for a second there. And then when she sees Adian starting to fight, she gets her flames in order. Lysandra hops in as her leopard, rips this guy's chest open. And all we see is these fucking golden eyes.
So fucking creepy.
That's so creepy.
That there's eyeballs in the body.
Yeah. But I guess fucking Erewhon knows how to make an entrance.
He sure does.
He sure fucking does. Tell us what happens next, Megan.
All right. Empire Storms Chapter 16. The Overseer's voice was not of his own, nor Parrington's. It was ancient, foreign, and unmistakably Erewhon's. Erewhon wanted Aelin to be grateful for his warning, grateful that he had rid the world of one more piece of vermin. He wanted her to understand that standing against him would be useless. Aelin hurled her power at the Overseer, but Erewhon only continued to taunt her. He asked if she enjoyed deciding who lived and who died, who was too far gone to be saved. Adian snapped back that Erewhon must be truly desperate if he had time to bother with them. Shouldn't he have had better things to do, like dealing with the fact that he'd let Dorian slip through his fingers? Aelin told Erewhon to rest and gather his strength. He was going to need it. Erewhon only laughed. He said he had big plans for her lover, Prince Rowan Whitethorn, that Rowan would make a fine prize, and that he should have done a better job hiding his scent when he helped free Dorian. Hunters were already searching for them. Aelin kept her magic burning, but Erewhon lashed out. A spear of darkness slammed into her chest, throwing her to the floor. Still, she rose, unleashing her power again, the entire temple shuddering beneath the force of it. At last, the Overseer's body tore apart, the dark shields around him collapsing. A small part of her recognized the truth. The shields only fell because Erewhon had chosen to withdraw. And his parting message was clear. His plan was to make her understand that the only mercy she might one day give her court was death. Fear struck deep for her people, for the world, for Dorian, for Rowan. Adian said that they needed to leave before dawn. Erewhon's attack had missed the word key on Aelin's chest by inches, and his power had shaken her to her core. She was the heir of fire, but he was the king of darkness.
Crazy.
Yeah, so this is like kind of their first interaction.
Yeah. And she basically only survives because he backs down.
Yeah, he only lets go. And she's like, yeah, I know that I didn't just break through these shields. Like, he let go.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why he's gone. Right.
Which is kind of crazy because if she's his biggest threat, why didn't he just take her out? He likes the fucking challenge.
Yeah.
He's like, come at me, bitch. I'll show you.
That's true, though. He's had many opportunities to take her out, but he hasn't.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they've tried. They did go after her at the end of Queen of Shadows, like the king and Dorian went after her and tried to kill her. So they definitely have tried. They just haven't been successful because she's not easily put down either, just like he is.
No. Yeah, no. I just feel like he definitely could have defeated her if he didn't back down.
Well, he was
or at least wounded her very badly.
And he wasn't even fully there. He's still in Marath.
Yeah.
And that was just his power being thrown through a body?
I guess, but his eyes.
I don't know. It's like he was looking, using his magic to look.
Yeah, look through the darkness.
But he's not really there.
Yeah, creepy. Fucking Erewhon. Back to boring TOD. Just kidding. Tower of Dawn, Chapter 11. Nezrin departed early with Sartok and his ruck, leaving Kale to exercise while waiting for Irene, who arrived late, once again. Once there, Irene cleverly sent Kaja away under the pretense of fetching ingredients for a fabricated rash on Kale's legs, creating privacy to discuss the previous night's events. She revealed that a healer had been murdered in the library, her body drained of blood and life, and Kale immediately recognized the work of the Valg. Irene feared the attack had been meant for her, either because of her research or her role in aiding Kale, and he agreed with her suspicion. Determined to act, Kale offered his support in any way possible. Irene, honing a promise she had made to a woman who trained her, was teaching self-defense classes to women so they could protect themselves, particularly against men. She asked Kale to contribute his knowledge, and though confined to a wheelchair, he could still use his mouth to instruct. Irene admitted she might stop resenting him if he helped, and he agreed, with plans to mount him on a horse using special braces so he could attend the class. Resolute, Irene decided to begin working on Kale immediately, refusing to let her fear dictate her actions as it once had. Placing her hands directly on his scar, she unleashed her healing power, and Kale cried out in pain as the process began. Here we
Whoa.
go. We are healing, people.
We are starting the process for reals this time.
Finally, only 11 chapters later, are we starting to heal him. But Nezran goes out with Sartok, which I know one of us has that chapter later on. I can't remember who it is. So we'll hear more about that in a little while. But Irene gets rid of this servant, tells Kale what happens to this healer in the library and how she was murdered. Her body was drained. Kale immediately recognizes that this is the Valg, and he is kind of freaking out like, fuck, the Valg are here.
Mm-hmm.
And Irene figures out, which Kale's kind of thinking to himself this whole time, but doesn't say it to her. He kind of lets her come to this conclusion by herself, that she thinks the attack was meant for her, either because of what she was researching, aka the word keys, or her role in aiding Kale.
Right.
He obviously agrees with this suspicion because he was thinking it himself. So she mentions that there is something that Kale can do because he wants to help in any way possible. She tells him that she had made a promise to a woman, aka Selena Sardathian,
Mm-hmm.
aka Aelin Ashever Galathinius,
Yep.
to train as many women with these self-defense classes that basically Aelin taught to her so she could spread the knowledge to every woman against these men so they can protect themselves. And he agrees to go and help. He's going to get on a horse with all these braces and get him there. And as soon as they agree to this, she's like, okay, I'm ready. Fuck the fear. I got to just do this. She puts her hands on his scar. All you hear is Kale's pain.
Uh-oh.
Not going to be painless, unfortunately. He's
No.
going to feel every second of this healing.
Yeah.
Times a bajillion.
Times a bajillion.
Poor Kale.
Tower of Dawn, Chapter 12. Burning pain raked down Kale's back like brutal claws. Irene told him that whatever clung to his injury didn't merely dislike her magic, it hated it. She had thought it was only an echo, but now she wasn't so sure. Rowan had healed him without issue, yes, but Kale had been unconscious at the time. Maybe that was why, or perhaps the darkness hadn't yet settled into him then. His spine was unquestionably damaged. She could feel that clearly, but something else lay coiled around it, a shadow, a presence. She would have to cut through that darkness before she could even begin to heal the physical injury. Irene suspected it was feeding on his emotions, which meant it would interfere with his healing, but Kale refused to talk about what had happened. She told him he would have to face it sooner or later. Then she handed him a bit for pain and began her work.
Yeah, I think he was like biting on leather, right?
Yeah.
Like a leather patch.
Nezran found Prince Sartok in the Eyrie preparing Kadara for a flight. On impulse, she accepted his offer to join them, but in the air, when the Rukin was exhilarating, a rush of wind and freedom, but it also gave her a new appreciation for the beauty of her father's homeland spread below. As they soared, Sartok asked about Aelin. Nezran explained that though Aelin could be difficult, she was a good woman, and the world owed her for killing the king of Adarlan. Both Aelin and Dorian wielded staggering magic, she said, but their keen minds were their greatest weapon. Sartok admitted he was open to hearing Kale and Nezran out about joining their war effort. He also shared that the Coggins' favorites were Duva and Cashin, and then, with a shadowed expression, he mentioned that someone had broken into the Tor the night before. A healer had been killed in a way no one had ever seen before. When Sartok asked what Irene might have been researching in the books that had been stolen, Nezran lied. The prince only warned her to be careful, that there was beauty in his father's empire, but there were also darker things lurking beneath its surface as well. I feel like not too much to really go over in that chapter. It's
just Nezran on a romantic date that turns business.
Yes, and Irene and Kale are still healing, and Kale refusing to talk about his feelings, and so nothing really happens.
Yeah, that's TOD for you.
That's TOD for you. That's how it's going so far.
Literally. All right. Empire Storms, Chapter 17. On the morning of Astron's execution, Manon was hollow with grief, having neither eaten, drunk, or slept. Astron was imprisoned under heavy guard with no chance of escape, and though Manon considered rescuing her, the risk to the rest of the 13 restrained her. Instead, she prepared Wingcleaver and memorized the words of request, determined to grant her cousin the mercy of a swift death rather than a prolonged agony which is usually endured. Sorel, soon to be Manon's second, wished aloud that Astron could have seen the waste once before her end, but Manon dismissed her sentiment coldly, insisting witches did not hope or wish, only adapt. Angered, Sorel retorted that Astrid would die with her secrets, but Manon replied that she would be remembered for her loyal service as second. Manon faced the grim spectacle of Astrid's public execution, orchestrated by her grandmother, before a crowd of witches. The matrons stood in judgment as Manon and the 13 approached. Already whipped by Iskra, Astrid's suffering ignited Manon's fury, but she invoked her right to execute her own second. The Blue Blood matron granted the request, honoring Manon for saving her daughter. With Windcleaver drawn, Manon spared Astrid further torment. Before the blade fell, Astrid asked that her body be returned to the cabin tied to her human love story. In that moment, Manon gave the 13 a final, defiant order, run. And instead of striking her cousin, she turned her blade upon her grandmother. Yes! Yes, Manon! I was really thinking Astrid was going to die. One, because you keep telling me everyone's going to die. Two, because Manon was acting like a little bitch to Sorel in the beginning of this chapter. Sorel's like, bitch, she's dying with your secrets. And Manon's like, yeah, then she was a loyal second. And she's going to die being a loyal second. What a bitch. And Sorel's like, this motherfucker.
Yeah.
But she also, I think, is in this protective mode too. She thinks about rescuing Astrid and she thinks about defying these orders, but then she's like, if I do anything else wrong, the 13 are going to be the ones to pay,
Right.
not me.
Yeah.
So she's like definitely being easy, not even telling Sorel her plan, unless this was a last minute plan, which I kind of feel like it was a last minute plan. And it really hurt, like Astrid being whipped and tortured by Iskra the night before, like seeing her like that, I think really made her pissed. And she was like, you know what? Fuck this after she saw
thinking about
the
her
shape that she
wyvern,
was
like
in.
Astrid's wyvern waiting for her to come back. And I'm like,
yeah, she has a soft spot for the wyvern. I love that.
She does.
All wyvern, because she felt that way about the Blue Blood heir too, because she was like, her wyvern wasn't going to do all that for nothing.
Yeah.
Waste her life for you to die.
Yeah.
Oh, Manon.
Softy.
A little softy, but fuck yeah, she finally gets the grandma. I know she doesn't kill her, but at least she goes after her and starts this war with her now.
You wish she even got her for good.
I fucking wish. Although I knew she wasn't going to go down easy.
No, that would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Arabin's death was quite kind of easy. It would be in line.
Yeah, but we were pissed about that.
I know, but it would be in line with Sarah to do something like that.
True.
Just turn around
she didn't.
Whack.
Yeah, I'm glad she didn't.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not glad she didn't, because I believe Manon is eventually gonna the grandma, but we'll see.
Yeah. Empire of Storms, Chapter 18. This one, crazy.
Yeah.
Manon's grandmother met her attack with iron teeth and nails, fending off a blow that would have cleaved most men in half. She darted aside just quickly enough that Manon's strike only sliced across her torso. Manon didn't know whether the 13 had obeyed her earlier order, but she heard Astrid screaming stop, the sound growing more distant by the second. Iskra and Petra stood with their swords drawn, guarding their matrons, when the rest of her grandmother's coven moved to assist. The matron held up a hand, stopping them. She would face Manon herself, she said the old-fashioned way, without weapons. As they fought, her grandmother stripped her of her title as wing leader and heir and hurled a new name at her, Kinslayer. Then the truths came, sharp, vicious, and long buried. Manon's mother, delirious with labor, had confessed that Manon's father was a Kraken prince. With Manon's mixed blood, she would be the key, though to what, her grandmother didn't bother to say. He had never stopped loving Manon's mother and had searched for his daughter until the matron killed him. Manon was never meant to be a child of peace. Her grandmother had fashioned her into a child of war instead. The Kraken spy Manon had slain in the Farian Gap, she had been Manon's half-sister. They had searched for Manon for decades.
Wild.
Even when Manon choked out that she was a Blackbeak, her grandmother only smiled coldly. Manon was the last of her line, yes, but not the Blackbeak line. She was a Kraken queen, and her grandmother promised she would kill her like one too. But Manon didn't give her the chance. She vaulted over the balcony's edge. She landed on Abraxa's back. The Shadow Twins were waiting, and together they fled. the rest of the 13 had escaped. Pain burned through Manon's abdomen. The wound was bad, though she lied and told the twins it was shallow. Yellow Legs witches gave chase. Manon ordered the twins to split off to take them down together. With Abraxas beneath her, she confronted the 2 Yellow Legs she was responsible for, tricking them into slamming into the canyon's walls. She blacked out from her injuries soon after, but at least she knew the 13 had been given a chance to get away.
She escapes her grandmama.
But after getting a major truth bomb,
Literally.
she's
a fucking
fucking queen.
Whoa.
Which is so crazy because in your chapter, they give her the sign or whatever near the eyebrows, or I forgot what the exact signal was of her being a queen. And they weren't doing that to the grandmother. They were doing it for Manon.
No. Yeah.
And they didn't even know she actually really is a queen.
Crazy. And the grandma killed her dad, who was looking for her whole life. And she killed her half-sister. I was like, what?
I know. And Manon's mother, she clearly killed her because she was like, I'm going to use Manon as the key to bridge the witch clans back together. And the grandmother's like, no, the fuck you're not, and killed her own daughter.
And that Kraken witch that she killed for the robe was right.
Yeah,
she was made that way. Crazy.
But she's making her own way now if she survived.
Making my way downtown.
Riding a Braxos and having fun. But hopefully she survives.
Hopefully. She got away for now. And the
Amanda's
rest of the 13.
I know she did, because you would be crying.
But wait, what happened to Astrid?
She got away with the 13. The 13,
okay.
Yeah, I think dragged her away.
So all the 13 are back together.
I think so.
I hope so.
I believe Astrid is with them.
All right. Tower of Dawn, Chapter 13. Irene and Kale endured a grueling healing session, battling against the dark wall within him for 5 hours without progress. The dark wall felt alive, as though she were peering through someone else's eyes, and Irene realized the process could take weeks or months. Despite the immense pain, Kale never asked her to stop, and Irene resolved to tread into the places she feared most. She requested tea, and Kale insisted she drink before he did, a small gesture that revealed his care and challenged her belief that he was a monster she once thought him to be. Kale invited her to dine with him, but Irene had to prepare for the vigil for the murdered healer. They confirmed plans to meet at sunrise in the main courtyard for her self-defense class, and Irene left, reflecting that Kale either had learned to endure the pain or believed he deserved it. Probably a little bit of both. Kale, meanwhile, was haunted by his nightmares and the weight of his injuries. Nesrin returned, whispering about Sartok's sympathy, but Kale barely registered her words, managing only to order her to hunt, knowing time was short if Erewhon's minions had reached Antika. He trusted no one but Nesrin to protect Irene. Though he had intended to meet with the Kagan to discuss the attack, the opportunity never came. Later, Nesrin and Kaja helped him to bed, and he noted how Irene made him do things himself rather than coddle him, falling asleep before they even left the room. At dinner, Nesrin went unnoticed, slipping into the streets armed and determined. She reflected on the lack of progress in Kale's healing and concluded the killer must have been a Valg, creatures who feared only their master's wrath. Prince Sartok found her outside the gates, where he learned her intent was to study the city's layouts and uncover how the murderer had entered and hid. Nesrin explained her familiarity with the Valg, confirming the truth of his spies' reports about the horrors in Adarlan. She confided in him about her mother's death, a grief she had never shared beyond her family. Describing how it took her 2 years to feel whole again. With her family's whereabouts unknown since leaving Rifthold, Sartok offered to have his spies search for the Philiques and aid them in reaching the southern continent. The prince pressed her to share everything she knew, and Nesrin agreed to tell him much, though not all. She warned him to reject black rings and collars, explaining that anyone bearing them must be beheaded, as they were beyond saving. She withheld knowledge of the word keys, gates, and Dorian's enslavement, but shared the rest. Similar to Kale earlier. Nesrin admitted they had planned to inform the Kagan, but his mourning had prevented a private audience. Sartok revealed records of ancient Valg on the southern continent and resolved to consult his mother about how they had been defeated before. He then accompanied Nezrin to investigate whether the city's canals and sewers connected to the Tor, seeking answers that might expose their enemy's path. The unlikely duo just keeps getting closer and closer. Crazy. But also, so are Irene and Kale.
Mm-hmm.
She works on him for 5 hours
Mm-hmm.
straight, and he doesn't ask once for her to stop. He definitely thinks he deserves this pain.
Yeah. Kale.
But she describes this dark wall that feels alive, and she's like basically looking through someone else's eyes and seeing all these like horrid nightmares that Kale is seeing every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Probably every time he closes his eyes. She does see a different side of Kale in this section because in this chapter, because they request tea and he's like making sure that she takes care of herself before he has any tea.
I know. He's like, I can sit here all day like this. Obviously, I have
Yeah.
nowhere else to go. So you better
Yeah.
sip this right now.
Yeah. So, she's like, okay, maybe he's not the monster that I thought he was. But before they leave, they confirm they're going to meet in the morning so that he can go to this self-defense class with them. And Nezrin kind of returns, but he's like half asleep by this time already. So he basically just has time to give her the order to go hunting because they know that there's no time to waste if Erwin's little creatures are already on the southern continent.
Yeah.
So she thinks she goes unnoticed at dinner and slips out of the gates, but Prince Sartok finds her.
He's very aware of her movements. He's like, well, you weren't being very subtle.
No, not at all.
Which she could have been, but I think he's just watching her.
Yeah, for sure. He takes any opportunity he can to be around her, I think. But, they're going throughout the city. He tells her plans. She ends up filling him in about these word keys. Oh, no, everything except for the word keys and Dorian. So she warns him about the valve, the collars, all the blackness. Was that Poppy?
Where did she come from?
I don't know. That was crazy.
She's in the box. I think she flew over me behind me into the box.
That's hilarious. Fucking Poppy's flying now.
What the fuck?
They do have a cute moment in this chapter, though, because she shares her mother's death, which is something she's never talked about outside of her family, even to Kale. And he, asks her about the rest of her family. She tells him they left Rifthold and they don't really know where they are. So he agrees to have his spies search for them and help them come to the southern continent, which is really sweet.
Yeah, no, it is.
And then they just decide they're going to go see if they can figure out how this fucking Val got into the kingdom or the castle or the city. Woo! And they're not going to find it because it was through a portal, but that's okay. Go on your little mission.
They'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah. Until then, we'll be here.
Yes, we'll be waiting and reading your boring ass chapters.
Literally.
Speaking of a chapter that really had no new information for us, chapter 14 in Tower of Dawn. Irene had been so exhausted from the previous day that she passed out on the Tor stairs, and 2 acolytes had to carry her to bed. When she awoke at sunrise, panic jolted through her. She was late to meet Kale, who was helping her teach a self-defense class that morning. She sprinted to the palace and found him with the guards attempting to mount a horse using the special braces that she had made for him. He did it. He actually did it. He got on the horse. Indeed. But he was decidedly less pleased about the guards who were openly ogling Irene as they approached. Together, they made their way to the Tor where Kale would be assisting with the lesson for the girls. When they arrived, every acolyte and even the healer on high was waiting. The girls were immediately smitten, whispering amongst themselves about how handsome he was. Get off the tree. Get over here. Get. Okay. The girls were immediately smitten, whispering among themselves about how handsome he was. But the mood shifted the moment Irene turned him into the lesson. She explained his injury to the girls in detail and even had them assist him in dismounting the horse. It did not go smoothly, and Kale's expression darkened with every awkward tug and wobble. He was not pleased. Hafiza stepped in before he could voice it, gently reminding him that Irene meant well and that any chance to teach the younger girls was a good thing. Kale swallowed his annoyance and stayed, and soon enough the girls moved on from giggling over him to learning how to defend themselves. They already knew how to break a nose and stomp on a foot, but now they were going to learn how to flip a grown man.
This sounds like a fun-ass class.
It does sound like a fun class, but really we don't learn anything new here. We just see
Besides, Kale can ride a horse.
Kale can ride a horse, which he said is not as good as walking, but it is better than being in the wheelchair. So he is very
Yeah.
excited to be upright and on the horse and being able to hold himself up because he is still very strong and his
Yeah.
abs are.
He's super fucking excited until he has to be helped off of it by a bunch of girls who struggle
And
hardcore.
basically drop him on his head.
Basically.
And Irene's like, good.
Poor Kale.
That could have gone smoothly. We'll learn how to do that later and we'll talk about it. And he's like,
I understand Irene's perspective, but yeah, I would, if I was Kale, I would be miserable too.
yes, especially since he has so much pride. And he was
Yeah.
even struggling with the guards helping him. And now you're going to ask like a bunch of like 13-year-old
Little
girls to
girls.
try to get him off the fucking horse.
Yeah.
That was a bad idea.
Bad.
But he stays for the girls. He even comments on how Aelin would have loved the lessons they already had.
He doesn't even know, but she's the one that taught Irene.
I know. It's just so good.
So good.
So good.
I can't wait till he finds out that they know her, that she knows him.
I know.
She knows her. Sorry.
I know. It's so good.
So good. All right, my last chapter of the episode, Tower of Dawn, chapter 15. Irene could feel the heat radiating from Kale as they conducted the lesson with the girls, who practiced flipping guards that had volunteered, likely to be healed afterwards. Kale smiled at the girls and even the guards, but never once at Irene, leaving her unsettled. When she invited him to participate again, he remained silent, and though she wanted to continue his healing immediately, Kale insisted they return back to the palace. They returned to the palace first. Their ride back was marked by silence until they encountered Cashin, who had increased security around the library after the healer's murder. Irene expressed her gratitude, and their brief conversation touched on Cashin's thoughts about his sister, Tumlun. I'm just going to say his sister.
Yeah.
About his sister's death, but she cut it short, aware Kale was waiting. Watching from a distance, Kale noticed Cashin's expression and almost pitied him, but Irene's patience had worn thin. She confronted Kale directly, demanding to know what she had done to offend him. He tried to deflect by mentioning Cashin, but Irene pressed, and his frustration boiled over as he slammed his hands on his chair. But before he could continue, Nezrin entered, and Kale quickly shifted the mood, telling her about his morning and his ride. Nezrin offered to accompany him the next day to show him around, and he happily accepted before she departed to visit her family, careful not to reveal too much in front of Irene of what her plans were, or her duties were. Once alone again, Kale finally admitted the truth. He had been deeply embarrassed by the girls attempting to get him off the horse, and even more so by Irene turning it into a lesson. Irene tried to explain that it was a rare and valuable opportunity for the girls to learn from someone with his injury, but Kale refused to accept it, weighed down by his own struggles. He confessed that all he had left was his king and a fragile hope that they might survive the war and make something of it. Irene apologized, sensing the depth of his turmoil, and prepared to resume his treatment. She handed him a piece of leather to bite down on, then revealed a painful truth of her own, that a Darlin soldiers had burned her mother alive when she was only 11. With the memory laid bare, she placed her hands on the scar along Kale's spine, ready to continue the difficult work of healing. Getting real vulnerable in this chapter.
Yes.
Kale's throwing a hissy fit the whole time that he's teaching this class.
A very Kale thing to do.
Kale's being Kale.
Yes.
And will not even look at Irene. Never mind smile. He's like smiling at the girls, smiling at the guards, and Irene comes over and he's like, mad face.
I'm mad at you, man.
Literally. They even ride in silence on the way back, and Irene doesn't even press him. She knows he's pissed, but she has no idea what she did.
Yeah.
He is about to get into it with her, slamming his hands on the freaking wheelchair. And then Nezrin walks in and he's like, oh, darling, hello. Switches up his whole mood, tells her about his day, tells her about that he rode a horse. And she's like super excited about this. She's like, yes, we'll go riding tomorrow. I could show you my family, where they're from,
But don't you feel
this
like
land.
both Kale and Irene cringe the way Nezrin like talks to him? Like she's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
really? You did?" And they're
Yeah,
like,
like, well, he mentions too, like, Irene does not coddle him, and he
mhm,
likes that. Like, she lets him do things by himself, and Nezrin is very like, "Let me do this for you, let me get this for you." She's very catering to him, so but I feel like it's out of love too.
she cares.
Yeah, she cares, but it's, like, killing him that he can't help himself,
Yeah,
which I don't know if she fully realizes.
right.
But either way, he seems pretty happy to explore the city with her and take a break from the healing, if it even happens.
Mm,
But Kale finally admits to Irene that he was embarrassed. They have this little back and forth, and Irene basically realizes how bad he is doing internally, emotionally,
mhm.
mentally, and physically.
He is
Actually,
a disaster.
he is a disaster. But he's being vulnerable in this moment. So Irene takes the opportunity to also be vulnerable, tells him about how her mother was burned alive when she was 11 by an Adarlan soldier or
Mhm.
soldiers. And she drops that bomb right before she drops her hands on him. So they don't really talk
Shoot.
about it either.
Truth
Crazy.
bombs.
Truth bombs are a coming.
Mhm.
Finally, we need some more action in TOD. I'm loving it.
Yes.
Bring it on.
All right. The last chapter of the episode is Tower of Dawn, chapter 16. Nice, short, and sweet summary for you all. Kale
Mhm.
drifted into nothing but darkness and pain as Irene worked on his spine. Every terrible memory he had ever endured bled into his mind. Every failure, every regret, every horror unleashed by the agony of the healing. Then, suddenly, a blinding white light split through the darkness. It drove the shadows back and wrapped around him like a shield. When Kale managed to open his eyes, Irene was swaying, blood dripping from her nose. Kale ordered her to lie down, but she shook her head. She told him she had seen it, the horrors of Marath, the darkness gnawing at him. She couldn't bear what it had whispered to him, so she had gone after it. Kale quietly apologized for her mother, for the way she had been murdered, and then, raw and shaken, he confessed the truth. The atrocities he had witnessed under the king of Adarlan, the burden he wished he had taken onto himself instead of Dorian. But by the end of the session, despite the pain, despite the terror she had faced inside him, Kale could wiggle his toes.
I literally physically was like, yay! When I read that.
Progress. Yeah,
He doesn't even realize. She's like, Kale? And he's like, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
look at my toes. But it's crazy. She got in. Like she finally was able to slip inside of the darkness and could
Yeah.
see the horrors of Marath, but also could see what this darkness was whispering Kale. All of this bad things that he thinks about himself. So she was right. It is his trauma that is eating at
Yeah.
him. But
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because they had that emotional talk before the healing started that she was finally able to slip inside to that darkness. And she said it was
Yeah.
so distracted with it beating on Kale that she was able to attack it without it
Yeah.
noticing. But I think she was able to get in because he's letting her in more. So I think the
Yeah.
more and more Kale lets Irene in, the easier it's going to be for her to push back this darkness.
Yeah. Once their connection grows, I think the strength of her healing also grows, if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And also, Kale's resistance kind of shrinks.
Mhm.
Big math problem.
Magical math problems. You love
Yeah,
those.
I do.
But yeah, so
Irene's math plus emotional correction
equals
connection
legs working.
minus minus, don't forget the
Oh,
minus, Kale's
sorry.
resistance
Yes.
equals love. Healing.
But I like that we ended this section with Kale being able to
Yeah.
move his toes. So that's an uplifting
Indeed.
part since the rest was kind of,
Well, it also makes me want to read Tower of Dawn now because it's been so fucking boring. This whole
yeah.
not boring, informational, I should say. Because we
Yeah.
still get like the introduction to the whole southern continent, which is great. But compared to Empire Storms, Queen of Shadows, Air of Fire, very slow.
Yes.
And now I feel like I'm excited about it because he can move his toes.
Yeah, and I also feel like we're getting, like we said, Tower of Dawn's like a brand new book, and we're getting into,
Yeah.
we end on chapter 16, so I feel like that's where it's gonna start to
Finally,
pick
like,
up. Yeah.
yeah, we're like going up the roller coaster and now we're about to like
Yeah,
whoosh, go
yeah.
down. But that's all we have for you today. Please let us know what you think by leaving us reviews and comments on any of the platforms you are listening/watching on or on our social media pages. This helps tremendously to get the word out and lead more listeners to find our show and tune in. And come join our book club Discord. You can find the link in our bios on Insta and TikTok. And this month we are reading The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee. We love chatting with you guys, so don't be shy.
Don't forget to email, follow, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and tell all your friends about us. And we hope the rest of your day is blissful. Bye.
Bye.